All right, here's how we're going to make the Tic Tac Toe app. So I recommend that we draw this out and think about how the screen's going to look for the user. In the video, I'm not showing that drawing, but I have one. So what we're going to bring into screen one, first we called it Tic Tac Toe, and we probably should change it to our name. I don't know if we can change our name here, but we can change it back in the other thing. Anyway. All right, let's get started with this. We need some rows. So I'm going to create a row with 3 buttons. Bring that in. And then I can duplicate this. So I'm going to bring those 3 buttons in. All right. So this button, we'll just call it, I don't know, just call it button 1, I guess. I guess we have 3 buttons. Let's just organize them. I like them to be left to right. So this is button 1. Yep. This is button 3. There we go. So button 1, button 2, button 3. That'll work for now. And then we'll make button 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 for tic-tac-toe to make a grid of 3 by 3. Of course, we don't want any text. So we want these to be empty. So we get rid of that. Then we also want the, I want mine to be 0, so square, no radius. And so I'm going to change that for all of them. And then I'm going to want my width and my height to be about 50. So I'm going to do absolute size of 50. I feel like that's a good size for a finger to be able to hit relatively easily, but not too big that it takes up space. And you can make these bigger if you want it. Now, one thing that I do want to do in here is make the text a certain size. I can do that here rather than in the blocks. All right, so that looks good. I got 3 buttons, easily fit on the screen. I could probably go to 60 or maybe even 70 for my height and width, but that's fine for me. So let me do text font. I want this to be like 24, 6, maybe 26. Let's see what that looks like. If I put X in here, what's that going to look like? I could actually go bigger. Let's go to 30. Let's go even bigger. Let's go to 50. Too big. So just try things out, see what it looks like. I don't like it. It's not centered anymore. Let's go 35. Not too bad. How about 30? Yeah, let's just stick with 30. It looks centered there. I like that's the best. Okay. Based off of the 50, I like that the best. So I'm going to do that for all of them. Change that to 30. And I want to get these right first, and this will just save me some time later. Because now when I duplicate this row, all those settings are already set for all the buttons. So that's going to save me some time. So duplicate again. And now these buttons are all done, except I want to, button 4, 5, and 6. Just make sure they're in where I like them. 7, 8, and 9. I think I can remember that without calling them any special names. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and that's showing up right up here. Okay, so that looks good to me. I think I'm going to go ahead and make my row fit contents so that it's a little bit smaller on the screen. There, that looks more like a tic-tac-toe board. Now I do want to add a title. That's always nice to have. So just a label that I can have the tic-tac-toe up here and make it look nice. So I'm going to say, this is going to say tic-tac-toe. I can add, we can do this later once we get it all laid out, but I could add a margin so it's a little bit farther away. Let's do a bottom margin of, say, 50. So it's a little bit higher off of that. I'm also, oh, I spelled toe wrong. That's not the right toe. Maybe it is. There, that's the toe I wanted. And I need to create another row for my score buttons and my reset for the score buttons. So I'm going to duplicate this row. And let's see if that's my row 4. Yeah, I want it up here. See where my purple line is? There it is. Come on, purple line, where you go? Let's try that again. It's thinking. All right, let's try that again. Oh, right there. All right, so this will be row 4. And I'm going to put, again, I want this to be a little bit separate from my other rows. So I'm going to put a bottom margin of about 30. So that's a separate, okay? And I want this button to be called my X score. Actually, it's going to be showing the user what the X score is. And I don't want it to be big, so I'm going to change it back down to maybe 18. Yeah, that doesn't look too bad. I got to make my 50 and 50 different. So let's make this height. We can keep it at 50, but my width, I want to make 100. Yeah, I like that. I'm going to do the same thing to this one. Change that to 100. This is going to be my Y score. I'm sorry, my O score. Change it to, what did I change it to? 18. Make sure that's the same. Yeah, 18, 18. And I need my colon and my 0. Just start off. That's how we're going to start it off. All right. And we could, I think, make this centered. What's that do? Nope. That's not what I thought it would do. Delete? How do we delete that? All right. So that's not what I wanted. I was trying to center that in the up and down. It's setting in here somewhere. But right now we don't need to worry about it. All right, and then this last one is going to be my reset score. Again, I don't want this to be 50, maybe 18. Score reset, maybe I'll call it that. Score reset. That's kind of how I have it laid out. But I want it to, again, I don't like the way it looks. Maybe I put this above it. Maybe I take it out of the row. It doesn't look like there's enough room in the row. Maybe I just bring that up here or down here. Okay, it's interesting. So I'm going to get rid of my rows margin now. So taking that back because I didn't like how it looked. And I'm going to put a margin on this one to separate it from the Tic Tac Toe area. And then I can take this and make it maybe a different width. 100. Let's do 100. Still not enough. 100, 120. And I'm going to make this 30. There. I like that. So figure out what you like. Lay it out how you want it. But that's kind of how I have mine laid out. So you can play tic-tac-toe here, get 3 X's or 3 O's in a row. You can say, oh, well, X is 1. So you click on this button, and it's going to go up by 1. Click on this button, if O's win, and go up by 1. And then you're going to reset that if you decide to play with a different partner. We also need to have a reset button for the X's and the O's in between games. So let's add one more button. Oh, you know what? Before I do that, let's change the names of these. So when I go into blocks, I know what button 10 really is. So I like to start out with button, but then call it X score. Right? And for this one, I'm going to start with button, but call it O score. So when I go into blocks, I'll know what that means. And this one is going to be button. I know it's a button that way, and it's going to be my reset score. That's how I like to name things. You could do it differently. And so I do need another button added in. So let me find a button. I could copy this one. So I could bring in another button, or I could copy this one. and duplicate it. Let's see, come up here and duplicate it. Yep. Then of course I don't want it there, I want it down here. That didn't work. Let's try that again. All right, that didn't work over there, so let's try it over here. I need to go down and put it below. Make this bigger. Okay, that's not what I want, but I just need to get it to be down here. Huh. Here? No. No. All right, let's figure out how we're doing this. Button 10. Please go where I want you to go. There. Okay, that's back where we were. Maybe the best way is to move row above it. So let's move row above it like that. Move row 2 above it. Like, no. Ugh. All right, maybe I should have done row 3 first. Doing backwards. Row 3 first, then row 1. There we go. That looks like I want. So that's row 1, yes. That's row 2, yes. That's row 3. And then I want a border or separation of this on the top. So let's do 20. And then 0. And this isn't the score reset. This is going to be a game reset. Call it that here as well. So that's the design. And again, you should make a plan of this before you get started and figure out what it's going to look like for your users and what, think about how it would look for the user. Now we can go into blocks, and a lot of this is redundant, so we can do duplication a lot. But let's start with our button 1. So button 1, we're going to, when it clicks, we're going to change the text of button 1 to an X. Okay, that's simple enough. We're going to duplicate that 9 times and change it to button 2. Button 2. And I'm not going to do all that in the video, but you guys get the idea that you should have this for all of your tic-tac-toe buttons, which for me is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So do all that for that. Now I'm also going to duplicate this, but I'm going to change this to a long click for my O's. Okay, and I want to make sure this is capital X. Yeah, capital X. Try to do this before you duplicate it, and you won't have to make so many changes. And again, duplicate this and make it for button 2. Make sure these match. This is button 1 click, so when the user clicks on button 1, long clicks on it, I'm sorry, on button 2, it changes button 2's text. And you're going to do that again for all of your tic-tac-toe buttons. And that's going to get it to be X's and O's. Let's try it out. Let's see if buttons 1, 2, and 3 work. So there it is. That's my short clicks. I do a long clicks. Very nice. So that worked. And you got to do that for all of them. Let's talk about resetting it. So game reset. So come down here, game reset. When I click on game reset, I'm going to want the text. So I'm just going to duplicate this. I'm going to want the text for button 1 to go back to blank. Oops, that's blank, nothing. And I'm just going to duplicate that 9 times, change that to button 2, duplicate it, button 3, and again, so you're going to have to, I'm not going to do it in this video to make the video a little bit shorter, but you got to do that for all 9 of your tic-tac-toe buttons. Let's check it out. So now I click on that. It's an X, it's an X, an X. I can double click, get it at O, get it at O. And then I hit their game reset and they go back to blanks. Good. So that works. So that's the tic-tac-toe part. Now we got to do our score part. So again, you're going to finish those off, finish those off, finish this off. So our score button, button X score, when the user clicks on that button, we want the score to go up by 1. So how are we going to do that? Well, we need to have a variable. So let's go to variables and initialize a variable. We'll call it our X score. And we're going to set it to 0 from the math drawer right here to start off, which makes sense, right? We're going to then take this, when this clicks, we're going to take the variable and make it go up by 1. So we're going to use this math block to take what the variable was, which in this case it starts out at 0, and add 1 to it, and then set that to the new X score variable. And we're going to, if it's 1, if it's 0, that's 0 plus 1 becomes 1. Now if you do it again, if the user clicks it again, it's going to be 1 plus 1 is going to be 2. But that just makes the variable change. That doesn't display the score on the X. So we're going to take the text here and we're going to display this variable right there. But that's not good enough, because if you remember in the design mode, we have X score is 0. That just changes the number. So this would just change into a number, which would not be good. So we need to join some text with the variable. So let's go to join in text and put that here. The variable is going to go here. That's going to get thrown away. And this is going to say X score. Semicolon I like, and a space, so that the space keeps this 0 or 1 or whatever it is away from it. All right, let's check it out, make sure it works. If it works, click on that. It sure does. Goes up by 1, 2, 3, 4. Looks 5. Good. Looks good. So since that all works, we can duplicate this and make it for the Y score. Oh, geez, the O score. X's and O's. I don't know why I keep saying Y. And then duplicate this. And just change all these to O's. O's. O. 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 And O. All right, so now let's check it out again. This should go up. This should go up. Perfect. All right, close that out. Now we need the reset button. So we come over here to the button reset score. And we come in here. And we're basically going to take this and change our variable back to 0. Right? But then we need to display it as well. So we're going to duplicate that. And we're going to basically do the same thing. Duplicate this from the X. Oops, that's not what I wanted. There we go. So what this does, when the user clicks the reset button, the reset score button, it's going to change the variable for the score back to 0, and then display the O score and the X score as 0. Let's check it out. So I won, then you won. I won 3, you won 2. Then we reset it back to 0. Perfect. And that is the game. Now, if you want extra credit, I recommend changing in the programming part, changing something about the other properties of the buttons. Maybe you change the X's to have a background. When they click on the X's, the background changes to red, and the blue O's are blue, or something like that, or green or something. Okay. But I think that's the app. Again, live test it. We only did the first 3 buttons. But you can see that works, that works, that works, that works, that works, it all works. Perfect. Just again, go back and finish doing these and these so that all 9 buttons work.